Now I'm moving on to phase 3 of table 9.3. In this phase, we first renamed the 3 sources that we all coded so that each had a unique name so they did not merge. Now remember, there's another strategy you can use in NVivo so that they do merge and you look at this a different way, but that's not what we did. And this is what it would have looked like. So I've sort of gone back in time to another folder just for showing you this example. So here are 3 files, one from community I, one from community R, and one from community Y. And each of us, as a coder, coded these different files. They were renamed in our projects first, so when we merged them back into this big collective project, we had 4 different files to look at. Unlike our last strategy, where we simply opened up the document that one pair coded and turned on coding stripes, and then opened up the other document where there were coding stripes, we now had enough files that this was going to get cumbersome. So instead of opening up each file and doing a comparison one at a time, we created a matrix query. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that query in the project. And what this query represents is file I1S, and here's coder A, coder B, coder C, and coder D. Each of these cells represents the data that was coded to a particular theme from that coder. And so at this point, instead of worrying about the numbers, if we double-click on a cell, we see all the things that coder A coded to evaluation. And we went through that as a team in our team meeting and talked about what was coded here. Then we went back to the table and we continued. We went to see what coder B coded to that concept. Usually this was a repeat, but it was good reinforcement. And if there were new things, we talked about whether it did or didn't belong. Just to keep in mind, just because there's a 4 in this cell and a 4 in this cell, that doesn't mean the coders coded the same thing. It could be different passages. So we went through all of them and had a discussion. And then, as we'd done before, we changed descriptions based on our conversation if it was warranted. So that concludes stage 1 from table 9.3, where we had 3 large phases. Phase 1 was developing coding, which we primarily did outside the database. Phase 2, where we coded in pairs in 2 copies of the shell of the project. And then phase 3, where we actually coded files independently on our own, not in pairs, and then merged that coding to see how much agreement we were in. And the goal here was less to come up with a number or a kappa. It was more to make sure we were doing things where we maximized discussion, shared ideas, and came closer together in our understandings of particular descriptive themes because we had conversations.